Okay, guys, more exclusive news and some tips for Capital Audio Fest. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. Packing up, ready to head out to Capital Audio Fest. I'm actually going a day earlier because I got another exclusive for you. Outside of the show, I've been invited to this gentleman's home. I've heard about the system for a while. It's one of the best I've heard on the entire Northeast coast. I just haven't had time either before or after the show to go visit in the past. But this time, I changed my plans, going out a day early. I think even Michael Fremer and JR, who you've seen on my channel before, are going to be there as well. I'll try to video if the gentleman allows, but either way, I'm going to have a good report on this amazing system that I've heard nothing but amazing things about. So stay tuned for more on that. Now, getting to the show itself, I did the preview video with the Bach and Potpourri being in a second room than Edgar's room that he normally has. And we've already booked up pretty much before and after hours for the Potpourri room. We still are doing dedicated demos. We're going to do it during the show hours, so email me if you're interested in that combo. But Edgar's going to have his own room as usual with the Jansen, which are a hybrid electrostatic speaker. And that is it's worth going to both of them to see the different flavors of speakers with the Bach. This is the first time you're going to see at a show more than one speaker with the Bach. But I wanted to give you in this video some tips for basically demoing the Bach, because over the years now, I've seen a lot of people come in the room, not understand what's going on, what it's all about. Let me give you some tips right off the bat and also address some of the questions, concerns, even the haters, what they mainly say. I will address that in this video. So the first thing you're going to want to do is try to book a scheduled demo. We're happy to put you on the schedule whenever we can, close off the room before hours, after hours. And like I said, Edgar still has time, and a few times before and after hours, you can do that. But if you can't schedule a time, what you want to do is come in when you can get that center seat. The whole thing about the Bach is it's calibrated for your ears, your fingerprint, your ear pinna. Now, there isn't time to do everybody that comes in the room and sits at that chair to get it done multiple times. But whoever got calibrated, a lot of that benefit will extrapolate to more people. But if you do want to go through the calibration, make sure you ask Edgar, and he can do that for you. There's a lot of things he can do, especially if you request it. If not, sit in that center position. And if you don't get that center position, you can sit anywhere off axis, and you're going to realize it's no different than any other room you go to when you're off axis. You'll have the same pluses and minuses of being off axis. But if you can get behind the person that's in the main chair, the closer you get in that same plane, you will get 85, 60%, 50%, depending on how far back you are from him. You'll get a lot of those same spatial cues and deltas. And let's go ahead and address the two things that you're going to hear this year with the Bach that you haven't in the past. Number one, the spatial cues, the crosstalk cancellation. That's always been part of the Bach, and that's what won all the awards, because you are now truly hearing stereo instead of crosstalk and a collapsed soundstage. And a lot of people, it's so drastic on certain recordings that some people think it's fabricated. Some people think it's a gimmick. But here's another thing you can ask Edgar to do in the room while you're there. He can turn the room into a recording studio. Those mics that go in your ears to calibrate can also be used to record. You know, you can record music even with them. And that's what David Chesky does with binaural mics, similarly to record binaural recordings. But what you can do is in the room, if you want to know, is this a gimmick or not, put those in. He will record while talking to you at 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock position. And then he will walk up to you, whisper all the way up to your ear. You are now there during the recording. You know where he was when he was talking. And then they'll play it back on the speakers for you. And that will, without any shadow of a doubt, prove to you that what the Bach does is more real than a fabrication gimmick. It's just much more real because you're getting rid of deleterious crosstalk that is always handicapped stereo imaging in a big room. You're always hearing a little bit of the left speaker in your right ear and vice versa, and that corrupts stereo imaging. Now, on top of the spatial cues now, we now have total frequency response correction. And this is where you're going to ease. In some cases with spatial cues, I've seen this in the past, people don't realize that so many recordings, certain vocals, certain bass is mono. So if you A/B test during a mono portion of the song, obviously there's no spatial cues to hear the delta, which is another reason why you can know that the Bach is not a fabrication or a gimmick, because when there is mono material, there is no difference on the spatial cues side. However, so make sure if you do some A/B testing and pick a song that you know has spatial cues, and then A/B during it, and then you should easily hear the difference. Now, when it comes to frequency response corrections, that's the new part called ORC, optimal room correction. You're going to be able to hear this extremely easy on just about any recording. In fact, just like I've used pink noise in videos, I've talked about that being a very important reference track, and I've even used it in an A/B demo at Toronto for the isoacoustics. Very influential. You could even hear it in my video on whatever you use to play it back on. You can hear the difference playing pink noise alone, what the optimal room correction can do. And then if you don't know what is good pink noise versus bad pink noise, then you can request to play whatever song you want, and you will now finally hear it accurately. And this brings up a macro point I've been wanting to do in a separate video, but I'll do it in this video, because I've been seeing on Facebook a lot groups where amateur reviewers, not the sophisticated reviewers, and certainly not recording engineer types, have been reviewing gear from the standpoint of emotionally connects me to the music. I've seen that so many times now, that's how they review gear. It emotionally connected me to the music as they're, and let me first say, that is not a bad thing, empirically speaking, for you. I know a lot of recording engineers would roll their eyes, and a lot of sophisticated reviewers in the press don't use that kind of jargon, but for you, if it emotionally connects you to the music, then that's a fine way to decide equipment for you. But here's where I see a very primitive usage of that term. And in fact, there's two words in there that immediately disqualify it. I'm not going to call it low IQ audiophile versus a high IQ, but it's a case where if you're using emotionally connected to the music, those are two things. Emotions and music that are variables independent of the gear. Okay, your emotions are independent to you. So if the gear is applying to your emotions and the music, then that is not something that will 100% carry over to other people. So you don't want to use that. You can use that to justify your buying decisions, but it's not something you want to use to describe gear for other people, because their emotions are likely going to be different. And the music, here's the thing. If I play a song for you, I don't care what system it is. It could be $1 million system. If I play the wrong song you don't like at the wrong volume, ear bleeding level, you're not going to emotionally connect with you. It's not. But if I play the right song at the right volume on even a cheaper system, you're going to get a better emotional attachment to the music, because that's a variable that subliminally we can't control. When we're hearing a song we like at the right volume, that's when you get all this goosebumps and adrenaline and all these kind of things. And so you have to understand, have a high IQ to understand, when you're emotionally connecting to the music, it doesn't mean the gear is great, okay? What it could mean, though, the higher IQ people can use that to say, okay, on that song and compare it to other songs, it is resonating with me more, of the same ilk. And then that gear may be resonating with you. And what does that indicate, though? The important thing is tying that emotional attachment to the music to something that will apply to everybody. And that's how it applies to the Bach. Because what I've learned over the years is once you get the measurements right, flat, you don't have anomalies, then guess what happens? You emotionally connect with the music. Why? Because it's more realistic. It it resembles what you hear in real life. Some people have this very low IQ understanding of emotionally connect to the music means it can't be flat. It's got to be, colored. No, actually, it's the complete opposite. You play something for people that is not accurate, is not realistic, does not resemble what they have in real life. The odds of them emotionally connecting with it is much smaller unless they have very warped hearing or very warped taste, or the recording they're using is just wacky beyond belief and somehow your colored gear offsets it. But that's a very primitive, isolated example. In most cases, and that's why high fidelity metrics are important. People want to ignore them. They want to be lazy. They don't want to get into that level of the hobby. And that's fine. The Bach will do it for you, all of the work for you. But be cognizant and be self-aware. If you do not have accurate reproduction, the odds of you getting emotionally attached to the music, any kind of sense of realism, is going to be very small. So in any case, what you're going to see in the Bach demos is simply the case of you listen, A/B test, that's it. However, if you do want to get into the weeds, I have a whole Zoom, 2-hour Zoom with Edgar coming up where he walks you through the entire interface on the iPad, all the different things that you can do from, you have a separate EQ on top of the automatic room correction. You have an active crossover, which I spent a lot of time this week on, crossing over my subs. You have so many tools here. And then on top of that, you have the measurements. You have measurements that you can calibrate and do like 7 different bins to try different things and both look at how it plays out in the measurements, but also listen and say, this is what I like. And in some cases, you may like it on certain music and not in others, and a different bin you like on that music. Now you have the ability to EQ per genre, per type. You always are going to be in that ballpark with your head-related transfer function, your automatic defaults doing the measurements. You're already going to have it tailored to your ears, but you can even go to more lengths of customization, or even if you have hearing loss, override some things to give you more boost where you're missing it. It's so powerful what this has. So I'll have a 2-hour Zoom with Edgar going through all the details. You're going to not want to miss it, especially if you're an owner of the Bach. But you're going to see it on the audio, the Dio, and the Grand now. That's the first time you're going to see it at Capitol Audio Fest. So make sure you get a chance to demo it. If you want to do a private demo, make sure you email me soon. My email's in the description, and I'll see you at Capitol Audio Fest soon.